I knew then and I know now that I should never have let my boss come over. But for some reason I said yes, and now things are getting out of hand quicker than I can keep up. My name is C. I'm 32 years old, and I live in Indiana with my husband, Eric. We've been married for 9 years, and we have 2 children, Ethan, who is 8, and Mia, who is 5. On the surface, our life seems stable and perfect, but appearances can be deceiving. Eric is a good man who works long hours at a warehouse, helps out with the kids when needed, and even folds the laundry without complaining. But sometimes, it feels like he's there physically but emotionally absent. There's no spark, no passion, and I want more. At work, my boss, Nathan, is 44, shrewd, and strong. He's the kind of guy who owns a room and makes everyone listen to everything he says. I can't help but compare him to Eric, even though I don't mean to. When Nathan casually suggested that we stop by for a quick drink after a work event, I surprised myself by agreeing. Perhaps I wanted to prove that my life and marriage were as polished as Nathan's tailored suits. I should have known better. When we arrived, Eric was on the couch wearing sweatpants with a bowl of popcorn in his lap and the glow of a police officer's light show on the TV. Nathan reminded me of the ambition and drive I once admired, the fire I wish I felt at home. It wasn't a picture-perfect life I wanted Nathan to witness, but it was ours. "Hey, sweetie," I greeted Eric with forced excitement. "This is Nathan, my boss, and he's stopping here for a little." The kids were spread out on the floor, absorbed in Roblox. Eric only gave a quick glance before turning back to the TV. No warm greeting. No handshake. Nathan, always charming, had a powerful spirit that permeated the room. "Your setup is excellent and cozy," he said. In the kitchen, I heard Nathan question Eric. "So, what do you do at the shipping center on Broad Street?" His tone seemed more like judgment than curiosity. Eric answered in a neutral tone. Nathan laughed sarcastically. "Tough work, huh? I bet that's hard on the back." I recognized that laugh. It was cruel and dismissive. Even though Eric's jaw tightened and his eyes narrowed, he remained silent. Then Nathan said something that will always stick in my memory. "Imagine what life would have been like if you had married someone like me. I'm not saying you should, but it might have looked different." The laugh that came out of my mouth was reflexive and automatic. I immediately regretted it when Eric's eyes met mine. "You think that's funny?" "Come on, Eric, he's joking," I replied, trying to diffuse the situation, but I had laughed a bit too hard for it to be a joke. "Don't be so sensitive," I added, but my words seemed weak. Eric leaned forward, his voice steady and low. "Yeah, but he's not in everyone's house," he said. That night, Eric left through the back door and didn't come home until the morning. When he did, he smelled like beer and fried food. His head was down and his expression was unreadable. "Where have you been?" I demanded, blocking his path. "I didn't feel like talking," he muttered, brushing past me as if I wasn't even there. "You were worried. That's rich," he said, snorting a bitter sound. "You were worried? That's rich. What's that supposed to mean?" I asked. Eric's eyes pierced me sharply, his gaze weary and full of pain. His words stung like a slap. "You're being dramatic," I responded. "Am I?" With the world weighing down on him, he asked gently as he sank into a chair, unscrewed a water bottle, and took a slow sip. "I know precisely what you're doing. You're playing the victim," he said, leaning back with his face bland and unreadable. "A guy needs to escape for a day in order to find tranquility." I crossed my arms to keep the lump from swelling in my throat. "I used to think it was my responsibility to protect you from the burden of life's challenges. But I never imagined that I would eventually need to defend myself against you." The room's atmosphere became oppressively heavy. "Are you done?" I questioned in a shaky voice. He nodded with an enigmatic expression. "Yes, I'm done talking." He vanished into the bedroom, leaving me standing there with my arms crossed, his words reverberating in my head. That night's sleep was elusive. I lay in the dark, aimlessly scrolling through my phone, wanting to distract myself. A video popped up. A relationship preaching by a guru about how men frequently endure silent suffering. I rolled my eyes. Because they're too proud to show their suffering. Weep like a river, I said, dismissing it. But his words stuck in the back of my head, like an obnoxious voice. The following morning, Eric was gone. No text, no note, just emptiness. I picked up my phone and sent a message to Eric. Real mature, you're leaving without a word. While the children bustled about getting ready for school, I didn't wait. My nerves were already tense. Our 6-year-old Logan pulled on my arm, his quiet voice piercing my annoyance. Give me a moment, Mommy, and tie my shoes. Logan! I snapped, not even glancing at him. From the other room, Emma, our 9-year-old, whined, Mom, I can't seem to find my iPad. I'm going to lose it if you don't stop crying over that tablet, I yelled, more sharply than I meant to. Logan stood still, his wide eyes locked on me. They mirrored Eric's, quiet, weary, full of unspoken feelings. By 1 p.m., my voice had softened as I bent to tie his shoes, feeling a twinge of regret. Finally, Eric texted back, Don't wait up. I'll be home later. My heart raced as I stared at the message. Without thinking, I called him. He answered, his tone bland. What does don't wait up even mean, Eric? I demanded. It means don't wait up, he replied coldly. Anger bubbled over. So you're not coming home now? Yep. And with that, he hung up. That evening, when Eric returned, it was later than usual. His movements were deliberate, almost mechanical, as though he'd rehearsed this moment. He placed his keys on the counter, slid off his jacket, and draped it over a chair, all in silence. I stood watching him, irritation simmering beneath my composure. You done sulking? I asked, my tone harsher than I intended. For a moment, he didn't respond. Then he let out a soft, weary sigh. I'm tired, he said, his voice barely audible. There was a heaviness in his tone that caught me off guard. It wasn't just exhaustion from work. It was something deeper. Crossing my arms, I fired back. Well, you're not the only one. Do you think I'm living some kind of dream life here? He didn't take the bait. No sarcasm, no retort. Instead, he looked at me, a long, searching look, as if seeing me for the first time, or maybe the last. That's the thing, he said quietly. I don't think you even know what you want. But I do now. My chest tightened. What's that supposed to mean? I asked, squinting at him, trying to decipher his words. He didn't answer. Instead, he walked to the bedroom, opened the closet, and pulled out his old black duffel bag. I froze as he calmly began packing, jeans, shirts, socks, all folded neatly and placed into the bag. What are you doing? I asked, my voice cracking. He didn't look up. I said louder, Eric! At last, he looked at me with a resolute, steadfast gaze. You told me not to come back, he murmured, zipping the bag. My heart cramped. Stop it! You're not serious, I said with a hollow laugh. But he continued past me and made his way to the door. I yelled after him, You can't handle one argument without packing your bags. That's it. You're just walking out. On your family? He paused at the door and turned, his face shadowed by the dim porch light. I'm not walking out on my kids, he said softly. I'm walking out on you. His words hit me like a blow. I followed him onto the porch, refusing to let him go without a fight. Oh, so now you're father of the year? I spat bitterly. Since when? He turned fully, his expression calm but determined. Since you stopped being a wife and started being my rival. Days went by without hearing from him. On the 4th day, I broke. I sent him a message. Have you finished your little vacation? The kids are begging for you. Later that day, my phone rang. The number was strange.
Is Angela from Bailey
Hello,
and Mears
law firm, a woman's voice said. I'm calling on behalf of Eric Thomas regarding a legal separation.